Hi, this is City Hospital. Your daughter was just brought in as an emergency.
I was enjoying my day off at home with my husband when we got that shocking call from the hospital. They told us our daughter had been admitted because of heat stroke. What? We're on our way. After I hung up, I filled my husband in on what had happened, and he was equally stunned. We didn't hesitate and immediately drove to the hospital. When we got there, a nurse greeted us.
She didn't have any ID on her.
Hang on, how'd you guys get our number then?
You know, one of those emergency tags? She had a keychain with your info on it, so we dialed that number.
This threw me for a loop. I didn't remember ever giving our daughter something like that. The nurse reassured us.
She's doing much better now.
But when the nurse led us into the patient's room, I saw a girl I didn't know. Hold on, who is she? Right after I asked, the girl in bed lit up and shouted, "Dad!" Who would have guessed what craziness would come next? My name's Lucy. I'm a 36-year-old working mom. I married Dan 7 years ago after we were set up by a friend. We made it official after dating for 2 years. I've been with a big publishing firm since I graduated, while he's got a job at a smaller place. Aside from the fact that my paycheck's a bit bigger, we're just your average couple. A year into our marriage, I learned I was expecting. The morning sickness was brutal, making me feel nauseous and dizzy, so I had to rest a lot. What really surprised me was that my husband barely pitched in around the house. Nowadays, if a wife's feeling under the weather, the husband would usually step up, right? But he never cooked, cleaned, or did laundry. "Could you help with the laundry? I'm feeling super sick." I asked him once, but he just grumbled.
Why should I have to do that?
Seriously? I'm carrying our child. Can't you chip in?
No, it's not a big deal. Being pregnant is being sick. You do it.
He ate quickly and crashed, leaving everything to me. Another time, after I'd been doing all the chores feeling like crap, he staggered and drunk and tried to get close.
Lucy, how about some fun tonight?
I shot him down fast, reminding him how I was feeling. No! What if something happens to the baby? Besides, I'm not in the mood at all. He shot back.
Turning down your own husband? If something happens, don't blame me.
Before stumbling to bed. There I was, alone again. Fast forward, and I gave birth to our baby. Both our families, who lived close, were over the moon about their new grandchild. Even my usually reserved father-in-law Paul was beaming. It made me feel like $1,000,000. But boy, was raising our baby a challenge. Dan started traveling more for work and was rarely home, leaving everything on my plate. It was tough, but who else was going to step up? Mostly, it was just me taking care of our girl, though my parents did lend a hand now and then. Dan, he just chilled when he was home. At first, I was pretty upset about it, but eventually I just rolled with it. Our little girl, Laura, grew up healthy and is now an 8-year-old in 2nd grade. She's a gem, always telling me, "I love you, Mom," and pitching in around the house. One afternoon, she got home from school and showed me a note about a classroom visit. "Mom, they said it would be great if Dad could come this time." "Oh, like a Dad's Day? We'll check with him when he's back." We both waited for Dan to come home. When he walked in, Laura gave him the note, asking with hope in her eyes, "Dad, Can you come to my class?
Why can't your mom go?
Please, Dad. I really want you there.
Okay, I'll work it out.
Laura jumped up, beaming from ear to ear. He's always swamped with work, so her dad attending her school's open house must have meant the world to her. She was so pumped about prepping for the event, wanting to show her dad her best. Her excitement was really sweet. But on the evening of the event, Laura got home, sobbing. What's going on? Dad never showed up to my class. Hold on. Are you kidding me? From what Laura shared, he was a no-show, making her the only kid without a parent there. I tried calling him right away. No answer. He finally staggered in late that night, reeking of alcohol. Hey, why'd you bail on Laura's open house?
What? Oh, was that today? It must have slipped my mind.
Seriously? She was so excited. You let her down big time.
Jeez, quit nagging. It's not the end of the world.
Something was off. He smelled like a different body wash, not ours. Did you shower somewhere else? He looked taken aback for a second.
I hit up a sauna.
Seriously? If you had time for a sauna, you could have been there for Laura.
Drop it. I'm heading to bed. Enough already.
He stormed off to our room. From then on, I had this nagging feeling he was keeping secrets. We needed to hash things out. I asked him to be around the next Sunday. Laura was set to join a day camp with her friend's family, so we'd have the place to ourselves. Dan rolled out of the bed late, looking all cranky, but I reminded him we needed to chat. As he begrudgingly sat down, he asked,
So, what's up?
Well, but just as I was gearing up to dive in, our landline buzzed. Talk about timing. I answered.
Hello? City Hospital here. Your daughter was just brought in as an emergency.
Say what? Apparently, a good Samaritan found her passed out on a sidewalk and dialed 911. The hospital thought it was a heat stroke and were running some tests. Oh no! I'll be right there. That's the city hospital, correct? After filling in Dan, we both, in complete shock, sped over to the hospital. What the heck happened at camp? Is she alright? My head was spinning with questions as I drove. When we got there, a nurse approached. You're Laura's parents, right? She didn't have any ID on her. Hang on. How'd you guys get our number then? You know, one of those emergency tags. She had a keychain with your info on it, so we dialed that number. That threw me for a loop. I never gave Laura any ID like that. How'd the hospital get our number then? Someone else must have given it to her. This is her room. She's doing okay now. The nurse led us to a room, but inside was a girl I'd never seen. Hold on, who is she? As I was trying to figure it out, the girl in bed chirped up. Dad, you're here! Excuse me? She was definitely calling Dan Dad. I glanced at him, and he was white as a sheet, lost for words. Hold on, why is she calling you Dad? Dad, who's she? Isn't Mom coming? I'm starving. I turned to the stunned Dan, shaking him. Okay, what's going on here?
Well, this is,
He struggles to find the right words. Getting closer to the bed, I spotted a kid's bag with a keychain hanging from it. This keychain had two handwritten phone numbers. Our home number was one of them. The other was a cell number I didn't recognize. But that handwriting was all too familiar. It was definitely Dan's. The little girl, looking up at me with those big eyes, had an uncanny resemblance to him. The truth started to sink in. This girl was his secret daughter. He had carelessly scribbled our home number on her ID keychain. What a dumb move. I was beyond mad. A mix of shock and simmering anger. Given we were in a hospital, I kept my voice low and hissed at him. Don't even think about bolting. We're hashing this out, now. I quickly made a call. About a half hour later, there's Dan, looking spaced out, seated in the hospital waiting area. As I sat beside him, the folks I'd called up strolled in.
Lucy, what's the deal?
My in-laws hurried over. Seeing his dad, Dan looked like he'd seen a ghost. Thanks for coming, Paul and Susan. Your granddaughter was admitted here in an emergency. Is Laura all right? Did something happen to her? Susan's worry was palpable, and I just shook my head. No, it's not about Laura. Come again? Without a word, I just gestured towards the hospital room, and they took a peek, then returned.
Lucy? Who's that little girl?
Susan's face went white, and beside her, Paul looked baffled. That's Dan's secret kid.
His what?
The look they shared was pure shock. Susan edged closer to Dan. Please, tell me you didn't. Then I saw another woman, eyes wide as saucers. Dan? Molly? What's going on here? I had posed as a hospital worker and called the other cell number on the ID tag, bringing her here. I greeted her with a smile. Nice to meet you. Mind taking a seat? We should probably chat. In a quiet corner of the waiting area, Dan and this unknown woman sat down, with me and my in-laws in front of them. All right, Molly's mom, can you start by telling us who you are? She answered, sounding kinda distant. My name's Taylor. Okay, Taylor. What exactly is your relationship with my husband? Well... She hesitated, and when she went quiet, I shifted my gaze to Dan. So Dan? Spill. What's your deal with Taylor and the kid in that room? He just shook, looking at me, lost for words. Right as I was going to push for more, my father-in-law's voice cut through.
Out with it.
Dan just broke. Barely above a whisper, he confessed.
Taylor and I, we had an affair. Molly's my daughter.
I kept a straight face, but Susan started sobbing, and Paul just dropped his gaze, heartbroken. So what's the full story here? Break it down for me. He sighed.
Okay, here's the thing.
He began to share, albeit hesitantly. When I was pregnant, I dealt with morning sickness and wasn't up for getting close, which really bugged him. Around then, he started seeing his coworker Taylor, who went after him. The affair went on, and when our daughter Laura turned 2, news broke that Taylor was expecting. She decided to keep the baby, and he went along. He'd head over to her place after work, even making up business trips to spend the night. You've been deceiving me all this time? My voice was soft, but my disbelief was clear. And he had the nerve to snap at me.
This is mostly on you for not being there for me when you were pregnant.
Excuse me? Do you hear yourself?
I didn't do anything wrong. Things just happened.
Dan mumbled. Right then, Paul, who'd been beside us, got up and shoved him.
Cut The nonsense. Whoa, Dad. It's clear you're the one at fault. Apologize to Lucy.
Look. Taylor, who'd been quiet till then, finally opened her mouth. Dan and I are in love. Molly's the fruit of that love. Dan, leave Lucy and let's be a real family. He paused, then replied.
Wait, I'm not thinking of divorcing.
What's that supposed to mean?
You can't hold down a job, and aren't great around the house either.
Really? That's what you think of me? Taylor, in a fit of rage, grabbed and shook him. Everyone, including my in-laws and me, just stared, stunned. But I jumped in when I saw others gawking.
Enough. Look, Lucy, I'm really sorry for the affair, but my heart's with you and Laura.
He reached out, but I pulled away sharply. Are you serious? Divorce is happening. Taylor's face brightened, contrasting his stunned look. There you go, Dan. She's saying divorce. Let's be a true family. Taylor, you can have this jerk, but you owe me first. She looked taken aback. I let out a sigh. You thought you could mess around with a married man, have a kid, and everything would be peachy? I'll get my $65,000 lawsuit if necessary. I can't cough that up. You're so cold. I brushed off her comment and addressed Dan. And you, Dan, you're on the hook too. I want child support and alimony. He looked completely beaten down as Paul hit his head. I walked out on them. With my in-laws backing me, the divorce was quick. They reached out to Taylor's folks, filling them in. They were angry with Taylor and ended up covering for her since she was broke. They vowed to take Taylor and Molly back to their small town. That was the end for Dan and Taylor. He handed over most of his savings to me. With child support for Laura, and now Molly, he's tight on money. But Paul swore to make sure he pays his due. Hopefully, he'll think hard about his choices and step up. As for me, I used that money to relocate and give Laura and me a fresh start. I had my concerns, but she comforted me, saying, "With you by my side, Mom, I'm good." Now, I'm focused on her joy and our bright path ahead.
Today, I'm having a drinking party at home with friends, so get things ready.
I received a text message from my husband, who has consistently had a bad attitude towards me while I'm bedridden with severe morning sickness. I quickly replied, "I can't do it, it's too sudden." I didn't get a response, so I tried calling, but my husband never answered. I had reached my limit. I won't forgive him for his previous attitude or for today's drinking party. I'm going to punish him. And then I put my plan into action. Around 6 p.m., my husband returned home with many footsteps behind him.
Hey, what are you doing sleeping? Didn't I tell you we're having a drinking party today? You haven't prepared anything at all.
Daryl came into my bedroom and yelled at me, and I answered him, dizzy and unable to get up. That's why I said it's impossible.
Hey, just get up. Hurry up and get out the booze.
I smiled in place and replied, "Is that all you want to say?" After that, my husband realized everything and began to tremble. My name is Katerina. I'm a 29-year-old working housewife. After graduating from the university's science department, I joined Norson, a small machinery manufacturer. Despite being small, it possesses a strong technical expertise and is a highly respected presence in the industry, with a high job acceptance rate. During the interview, Daniela, the female president and representative of the company, told me, "It's unusual for women to want to join our company. Your university grades are excellent. I've interviewed you and found you to be a great person, and I'd like to invite you to join our company." Oh, thank you so much. I will definitely strive to be of great value once I join.
work hard from now on, okay?
From that moment, the president became my role model. And getting the job offer from Nordson, which was my first choice, became the happiest event of my life. Working here was hard, but also fun. I wasn't underestimated because I was a woman, and I was entrusted with significant tasks, allowing me to see my skills improve over time. In my third year at the company, I was approached by Daryl, the sales department manager, at a social gathering.
Was there ever a girl like you in the R&D department? It's rare for a girl to join our company.
I was nervous as Daryl approached me in a casual manner. After all, he's the biological son of the president and the executive director. It's widely rumored within the company that he's the next successor. I was nervous talking to Daryl at the time, but for some reason he seemed to like me.
You're like a serious and modest person. Quite refreshing. Hey, how about going out for a meal next time?
Thus, Daryl and I started going out to dinner together. Daryl has a liberal arts degree, which is unusual for our company, and he is a good communicator. He seemed to have a personality suited to sales. In fact, he seemed pretty good at his job. Daryl's lighthearted, or rather cheerful personality was also refreshing to me. They say people are drawn to what they don't have, and I was no exception. We dated for about 1.5 years, and eventually Daryl proposed to me.
Katerina, let's get married. Please accept my proposal.
Daryl, thank you. I'm very happy. I happily accepted the ring that Daryl offered. As I gazed at it with delight, Daryl teasingly said,
By the way, isn't this what they call a Cinderella story? Marrying the future company president?
Well, I'm not marrying you just because you're the president's son.
Oh, that's right, isn't it? Well, from now on, please take care of me, Katerina.
Afterward, we first went to meet my parents. My rural parents were delighted and gave their approval for the marriage. Next, it was time to visit Daryl's parents. The president, or rather my mother-in-law, beamed at me.
I remember you from the interview, and I've heard that you're competent within the company. Bringing home someone like that as your wife is quite a catch, Daryl.
My father-in-law also welcomed me with a quiet smile and gave his approval for the marriage. After some small talk, my mother-in-law suddenly turned serious.
Katerina, I'm thinking of making Daryl the next successor, but he has a bit of a carefree side to him, so I want you to educate him. Come on, Mom. You too, Daryl. Having a family means you have more to be protective. It won't be business as usual. Treat Katerina well. I understand.
Mom, Dad, I look forward to your support from now on. I greeted them in this way. A while later, we had our wedding. We invited all the employees and had a grand celebration. Later, my mother-in-law presented us with a gift for our wedding. We began living together in a single-family house. I thought that our happy married life was about to begin, but I soon encountered a problem. Daryl was the type who didn't do any household chores. He had experience living on his own, so he should have been capable. But he didn't even press a button on the washing machine. While I was doing all the household work, he would lie on the sofa watching TV. I also had my job to attend to, so taking on all the household chores was honestly a burden. When I lived alone, I could get away with making a simple dinner and doing the cleaning on the weekend, but it was different when living with a husband. After 3 months of living like that, with only me doing the housework, I finally complained to Daryl. Hey, Daryl, I have a favor to ask. Can you help out a bit more with household chores? Daryl, without taking his eyes off the TV, responded like this.
Huh? Can't you just keep doing the chores like before? I'm tired from work.
I work too. It's not fair that I'm the only one responsible for household chores. This is unreasonable.
What's unreasonable about it? I'm the next company president, you know. Are you suggesting that such an important figure should do household chores? That's what's unreasonable.
I was left speechless. Regardless of whether Daryl would become the next company president or not, isn't family separate from work? When I tried to convey this, Daryl's expression soured.
Katerina, you came here as a bride, right? Household chores should be done by women.
Was this his true opinion? I was in shock at his outdated statement, and Daryl casually said,
Right, I'm inviting friends over from now. Do we have any alcohol?
What? From now?
Make sure you can entertain my friends properly. You're my wife, after all.
My concern wasn't just that my husband wouldn't help with household chores. Daryl frequently invited his college friends over to our house for parties. Each time I had to prepare alcohol and food, and my precious leisure time was being taken away. I understood that Daryl had his social connections and valued his friends, but honestly, dealing with this every week was exhausting. About a year into our marriage, I started experiencing health issues. I felt dizzy and had mild nausea that persisted. I decided to go to the hospital thinking it might be something serious. To my surprise, I was informed that I was pregnant. Overjoyed, I shared the news with my husband, and he was equally thrilled.
Katerina, is it a boy or a girl?
You're getting ahead of yourself, Daryl.
But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so happy.
I genuinely felt glad to see the happiness on my husband's face. After that, we shared the news of my pregnancy with my in-laws who lived nearby, and they were even happier than Daryl.
Congratulations, Katerina. Take good care of your health. If there's anything we can do, just let us know.
Thank you, Mom. At that moment, my father-in-law said to Daryl,
Daryl, from now on, make sure to support Katerina. Reduce those drinking parties and come back home early to be by her side. I understand, Dad.
It seemed that Daryl had a hard time saying no to my in-laws. Since he seemed so amenable, I thought everything would be fine. However, Daryl continued to have parties with friends at the same pace as before. I asked him to stop inviting friends to our home during this critical time. He stopped inviting friends to our home, but he began going to bars instead. Each time he would come home late at night heavily intoxicated. I was becoming frustrated, but I didn't say anything. After a while, my morning sickness became severe. I was dizzy all day and vomited multiple times. Even the slightest strong smell would make me throw up. Whether I ate or not, I couldn't avoid vomiting up stomach acid. In this state, it was impossible for me to work, and gradually I couldn't go to work at all. One day, while taking a half day off and resting at home, I received a message from my mother-in-law.
Katerina, I asked your boss about your condition. It seems your morning sickness is quite severe.
Yes, it's true. I'm really sorry that I can't work properly.
It's all right. How about taking a leave of absence until your morning sickness settles, or better yet, until you give birth?
A leave of absence?
Yes, your health is essential right now. Don't worry, your place is secure, and this would be the best choice for the time being.
Thank you, Mom. No, thank you, President. I'll do that. So it was decided that I would take a leave of absence until giving birth. When I informed Daryl about this, he frowned.
Huh? A leave of absence due to morning sickness? I've never heard of that.
It can't be helped. I'm genuinely not feeling well.
But never mind. Since you're not going to work, at least make sure the household chores are perfect, alright?
Huh? I was surprised, and Daryl continued.
Of course. Lately you've been slacking with meals, right? I've noticed.
But I'm trying my best. I'm doing everything I can because strong smells make me nauseous.
How can you have a child like that? Since you're in a housewife-like situation now, make sure the household chores are perfect. Got it?
Ordinarily, when a wife is suffering from morning sickness, a husband in the right mind would help with chores or bring her suitable food. But Daryl didn't do any of that. Instead, he went out drinking almost every night and ordered me to maintain perfect housekeeping while I could hardly stand. I was deeply disappointed by Daryl's attitude. Weeks passed, but my morning sickness didn't subside. It actually peaked. During that time, Daryl returned home once again heavily intoxicated. He didn't even take off his suit and started snoring on the sofa. I sighed and began cleaning up the mess my husband had made. I picked up a phone from the floor and saw the screen. There was a text message that went like this. Daryl, thanks for coming to the bar again today. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow. The sender's name is Jasmine. It's clear from this message that Daryl has become quite close to the bartender. I felt my anger rising. How could he flirt with a bartender while I was suffering from morning sickness? I thought about waking Daryl up, but he was deep asleep, so I gave up for the day. Instead, I took a screenshot of the message. A week later, the morning sickness was particularly bad and I was down for the morning. Then I got a call from Daryl in the evening.
Today I'm having a drinking party at home with friends, so get ready.
I quickly replied that it was impossible. When I didn't get a response, I called him, but he didn't answer. I had reached my limit. He didn't understand how severe my morning sickness was, and he wanted to have a gathering at our home after spending time at a bar. I couldn't let this go. I decided to teach him a lesson. I contacted someone, and around 6 p.m., Daryl returned home with a group of friends.
Hey, why are you sleeping? I told you we're having a gathering today. You haven't prepared anything.
He came to the bedroom and shouted at me. I, dizzy from my morning sickness, responded. I messaged you. I can't do it today because my morning sickness is really bad. At least go out and have a drink.
What's with all this morning sickness all the time? Don't be so whiny.
I told you, it's impossible.
Come on, get up. Serve some snacks with the drinks.
I smiled in place and replied, Is that the only thing you have to say?
Huh? What are you talking about?
Daryl seemed annoyed and grabbed my arm, trying to pull me out of bed. Suddenly, the closet door in the bedroom creaked open.
What? Mom? Dad too?
That's when my father-in-law and mother-in-law, whom I had invited, emerged from the closet. Their faces were beet red, and they had their arms crossed.
What? Why are my parents here? What's going on?
Realizing he had been overheard, Daryl began to tremble uncontrollably. Then my mother-in-law calmly said, Tell your friends to leave immediately.
But...
Do it now. Daryl shrank and sent his friends home, leaving only my husband and me with my in-laws. Daryl, sit there. My mother-in-law said sharply, and Daryl with a pale face sat down. My father-in-law continued with a low voice.
I've told you multiple times to take care of Katerina while she's pregnant. What the heck is this? Dad, listen, today was just a one-time thing.
My mother-in-law then interjected.
I've heard everything from Katerina. You've been going out drinking almost every day since you found out she was pregnant. I even saw your messages. You knew about all of that?
You admit it, don't you? And inviting many friends over while your pregnant wife was bedridden due to morning sickness, and then telling her to prepare snacks? Who do you think you are? Watching Daryl shrink under my mother-in-law's scolding, I almost burst into laughter.
Start by apologizing to Katerina.
My father-in-law said sharply, and Daryl bowed his head to me.
Katerina, I'm sorry for everything, but I was genuinely happy about the baby. That's the truth. And about the drinking gatherings, my friends invited me, saying they wanted to celebrate the pregnancy.
No more excuses, my mother-in-law shouted, and Daryl bowed his head to me again, tears in his eyes.
I'm sorry, Katerina. Please forgive me. I promise to be a better husband from now on.
My mother-in-law sighed. I never thought you could be such a fool.
I will respect Katerina's decision regarding the future, but we'll drop the talk of you becoming the heir. What? Mom, you can't.
Be silent. All you can do is follow Katerina's decisions. All three of them turned their attention towards me, and I quietly said, Daryl, I'll spare you from divorce, but until the child is born, we'll be living separately.
Separation?
Mom, Dad, could you please help educate Daryl until then? Upon my request, my in-laws nodded vigorously.
Katerina, thank you for not divorcing our foolish son. We'll straighten him out ourselves. Yes, maybe we should make him a monk or something. What? A monk? Please have mercy.
With a pitiful voice, Daryl was led away by his parents. I waved to them with a smile. As promised, afterward, Daryl and I lived separately. He was forced to do all the housework at his in-laws' house and was strictly disciplined by his parents. And it seems like he really was made to have a monk's haircut, too. Later, Daryl contacted me repeatedly for help, but I ignored him. A few months later, with the help of my in-laws, I gave birth safely. A sweet little boy was born. When Daryl was allowed to meet him, he quietly shed tears. Now, Daryl and I are living together again. He's become a different person, coming home early, helping with household chores and childcare. He's working hard to regain recognition as the heir apparent.
I'm sorry for what I did back then. I was truly at fault.
He apologized, with his head lowered. While forgiving him, I made it clear that I would be taking the lead from now on. My in-laws have always supported me and showered love on their grandchild. I'm grateful for them, and I want to continue living happily as a family. Hold on a sec. My fever was raging, my vision cloudy, my voice weak. I tried to get his attention, hoping he'd stick around. But all he did was shoot me a dismissive smirk. Gesturing towards me, he said with a touch of arrogance,
Sorry, but I've got a trip with a friend starting today.
I'm in bad shape. If you take off, I won't be able to fend for myself.
That's on you. You did this to yourself.
I can't even...
Just get some rest while I'm out.
And just like that, he was out the door, suitcase swinging, whistling a tune. My heart felt like it was splintering. He's bailing for a vacation while I'm laid up like this? Isn't the whole marriage thing about having each other's backs? I'm in both physical and emotional agony. With the little energy I had left, I reached out for help, and the outcome was startling. My name's Leah, and I'm 29. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to help others, so now I'm a nurse at a university hospital. Nurses don't perform surgeries like doctors do, nor do they diagnose diseases. Our roles are specific and limited. But without nurses, hospitals wouldn't run. We care for patients within our scope, aiding in their healing. While we might not be in the limelight like doctors, nurses are vital. I took pride in being a nurse. Another perk of this profession was bonding with two close friends during nursing school. First up is Anna. She's the very definition of sweet, both in looks and nature. I'd often think how patients would be smitten by her, because even I, a woman, find her delightful. Then there's Sandy. She's like the big sister in our trio, always playing peacemaker between Anna and me. She was a star student, and now has a position at a prestigious hospital. Getting to know them enriched my life in ways I can't express. They've been a driving force behind my determination as a nurse. But there's another driving factor in my career. My husband, Nathan. Our paths crossed during a group outing arranged by a colleague from the same hospital. Sparks flew instantly, and he took down my number by the end of the night. He was persistent, and after about 18 months, he popped the question. We've celebrated 2 anniversaries since. Even though that fiery passion from our early days might have dimmed, I was convinced I still have feelings for him. But of late, something seemed amiss. He started staying out more. It really hit home 2 weeks back. He's typically back by 7 p.m., but that night, the clock struck 8, and still no sign of him. I shot him a text. Running late today, but got radio silence. Anxiety building up, I called multiple times, only to be met with voicemail. He finally strolled in after 11 p.m. What kept you? I've been out of my mind with worry. I tried reaching out so many times. I blurted out, my voice louder than intended. He seemed ticked off for a split second, but soon resumed his usual warm demeanor.
Oh, my bad. Got drinks with some colleagues and missed your calls and texts.
You went out? You usually give me a heads up when you have plans.
Today was just hectic. I really apologize. I promise to be more considerate next time.
All right, just keep me in the loop. I can't help but worry.
I understand. If I'm late in the future, there's no need for you to stay up for me.
Claiming he needed a shower, he exited the living room. After all these years together, his behavior felt out of character. Was he not himself today? His fleeting irritation when I confronted him made me skeptical about his evening out story. He'd always inform me in the mornings about his evening plans. Many questions raced through my mind, but dwelling on them wouldn't rewrite the day. Although uneasy, I chose to put my apprehensions aside. It's been 2 weeks since that night, and my unease around him has only intensified. Right now it's after midnight, and he's nowhere in sight. Each time I ask, he sticks to the same excuses, out with coworkers or working late. Without any solid proof that he's being dishonest, I can't press the issue further. As the days passed, grappling with this alone got tougher. I chose to bring it up with my 2 closest friends, whom I was set to see soon. We gathered at a coffee shop, and after we ordered, I broached the subject. Actually, I've been wanting to talk about Nathan. Sandy, taken aback, leaned in and asked, "What's up? Did something happen?" Anna stayed pretty neutral, but I felt it was only fair to clue in both of them. Holding back tears, and with Sandy's reassuring hand on my back, I finally said, "Recently, he's been getting home super late. He hardly ever worked late or partied before." "So this is a regular thing now? Since when?" I paused, then answered, "It started about a month ago. He's late nearly every night now." "Almost every night? But didn't you mention his job doesn't require a lot of overtime?" "Exactly. And he's not big on alcohol. He never really got the whole after-work drinks thing. On the off chance he did go, he'd come home early." Sandy looked pensive after hearing this. Anna, in a laid-back manner, commented, "Leah, are you sure you're not reading too much into this?" "Reading too much into it?" "He's busting his butt off, both on the job and at home. He might be stressed, you know." "What do you mean? So he's coming home late every night because he's stressed?" "No, not really. Sometimes folks just want a break from home. You get me?" Sandy gave Anna a sharp look, clearly annoyed, and retorted, "Excuse me?" Anna didn't flinch, not showing any regret for her words. This raised an eyebrow for me. Even if Anna had a point, was this the right time or place to voice it? Especially to someone seeking guidance? Maybe she was just playing devil's advocate because we're tight. Regardless, her remarks hurt. I was on the verge of tears, but didn't want to make things more uncomfortable. I managed a smile and said, "You could have a point." The chat soon moved to Sandy's job and Anna's latest crush, and the hours just flew by. When we left the coffee shop, Anna quickly mentioned other commitments and made a beeline for the subway. Now, alone with Sandy, her demeanor shifted to something more serious. "What's on your mind, Sandy?" I asked, trying to keep it light. Looking sorry, she responded, "I've been mulling over Anna's comment. It felt off. Why would she back up your husband when you're clearly upset?" Well, maybe that's just how she sees it. Still, she could have phrased it differently, right? Anna's words did sting. I wasn't looking for pity, but I at least wanted someone to get where I was coming from. Anna's stance, especially since it was so uncharacteristic, seemed to side with Nathan. Distressed, I said my goodbyes to Sandy. On the way back, I was caught in a sudden rainstorm, and before I knew it, I was drenched. Instead of heading for a shower right away, I paused at the front door, lost in thought about Anna's words and my husband's change in behavior, tears mixing with the rain on my face. The next morning, I woke up feeling feverish, and a splitting headache set in. My vision was fuzzy, and my body felt like it weighed a ton. Fortunately, I didn't have work, so I took a moment to check my fever. My eyes widened when the thermometer read 103.6 degrees Fahrenheit. I couldn't remember the last time I was this sick. Thirst overcame me, but moving felt impossible. Pushing through, I made my way to the living room, where I found my husband gleefully packing a small suitcase. "Where are you headed?"
Oh, didn't I tell you? I'm out for the next 3 days.
Hold on, you never told me. And you're leaving today of all days?
Look, it's been on the books for a while now.
You should have given me a heads up. His face tightened at my words. In a flash, he was making his way to the door, suitcase in tow. Hold on a sec. My fever was raging, my vision cloudy, my voice weak. I tried to get his attention, hoping he'd stick around. But all he did was shoot me a dismissive smirk. Gesturing towards me, he said with a touch of arrogance,
"Sorry, but I've got a trip with a friend starting today."
I'm in bad shape. If you take off, I won't be able to fend for myself.
That's on you. You did this to yourself. You're in the medical field, yet you're so helpless.
I can't even...
Just get some rest while I'm out.
And just like that, he was out the door, suitcase swinging, whistling a tune. My heart felt like it was splintering. He's bailing for a vacation while I'm laid up like this? Isn't the whole marriage thing about having each other's backs? I'm in both physical and emotional agony. I need help. With what little energy I had, I called someone for assistance. Sandy was my lifeline. After a quick chat, she showed up loaded with electrolyte drinks, meds, ice packs, and fruit. After getting some rest, I felt a world better, and the fever had dialed down. Sandy, you're a lifesaver. I'm feeling way better. Really? That's great. But, I've got some news. Spill it. This might not be the best moment, but Anna might be more than friends with your husband. Come again? Trying to clear up my confusion, she flashed a pic. It showed my just departed husband and Anna, both toting suitcases, grinning ear to ear. What's the deal here? I had this hunch ever since our coffee meetup. Then, on my way here, I spotted them. Anna and my Nathan? Really? Is that why she was covering for him the other day? Looks that way. I immediately called my husband's workplace, finding out he had indeed taken a few days off. My nerves quickly flipped to fury. This is unbelievable. He dished me, feeling awful, to jet off with the woman he's seeing on the side. And she's my right-hand gal? How dare he? This is war. But for the moment, I opted to rest up and recharge. Sandy stayed overnight, not wanting to leave me alone. Come morning, things took a wild turn. While brainstorming with Sandy, my cell buzzed. It was Anna. Sandy signaled for me to pick up. Her shaky voice came through. Leah, your man, Nathan, he's gone. Wait, what? What did you say? I'm telling you, Nathan's no more. Did you catch that? Get to the hospital now. She hung up quick and shot over the hospital info. Sandy and I rushed to the hospital. In the waiting area, I spotted a shaken Anna, looking defeated. I left Anna with Sandy and darted to my husband's room. When I told them I was his wife, they weirdly pointed me to a regular room. Hold on, where's my husband? I asked, clearly rattled. The nurse responded by opening the door, showing Nathan swathed in bandages from head to toe. He went ghost white seeing me. I waved Sandy over, bringing Anna into the room. Anna's eyes bulged, blurting out, "What the heck?" Sandy, who'd gotten the scoop from Anna, filled me in. Nathan blew through a red light with Anna and wound up in a wreck right in front of her. She had assumed he was gone after seeing him lifeless and unresponsive as paramedics took him away. If he had died, their secret would have been blown wide open. She probably figured the jig was up and decided to loop me in. He probably didn't see that coming. Seeing Nathan's strained face, I snarked. Crashing the car on a cheat date? Maybe karma's real after all. You got what was coming. But hey, good thing you're still breathing, huh? Get ready for life post-divorce thanks to your little side gig. Buckle up.
Hold up. You're talking divorce? You're kidding, right?
I fired back. Do I look like I'm kidding? You ditched me, sick as a dog, to run around with my BFF. I think I just let that slide. Just so you're clear, I'm not budging on this. Prepare for the storm I've got ready for you and Anna. Without another peek, I stormed out. I got the sounds of him hollering and Anna's cries, but I tuned them out. Back home, a quick check of his tablet uncovered all the proof I needed of his two-timing. Armed with the goods, I hit up a law office, kicked off the divorce, and pressed for a payout. The evidence made for a fast divorce. Plus, I got a lot of money from the two of them in damages. Nathan, always bad with money, had been blowing cash left and right on Anna. Sandy and I later found out Anna had failed on her job and lately had been leaning on guys for cash. My now ex-hubby was just one on her list. She ended up in the hole trying to cover the damage fees. After a ton of fights, their fling fizzled out. A double cross by both my husband and my bestie was a blow. But looking back, I'm glad I cut those ties. I've got to believe that to move forward. Lucky for me, I got a rock-solid friend in Sandy. After the dust settled, she shot me a comforting grin. Leah used to taw through all of this. You rock. No way. It's all you. Totally. BFFs, right? If you need anything, holler. Thanks so much. I can't thank her enough. Life's not just about family or significant others. A ride or die buddy who gets me and has my back? That's gold. If she ever needs a hand, I'll be right there. I'm committed to living my best life, so one day I can return her awesome favor.